Hi, everybody. I want to welcome our studio audience. I want to do a shout out to 80 CEOs and executives who are watching us this morning from Spain. We have partners there that are building our work together in Hispanic, Spanish-speaking and European countries, and we've got 80 CEOs from the Vistage organization that are Zooming in today. So I hope that they can understand my version of English, which I call hick. And so I want to say we have over 900 folks that are online with us today, and thank you for coming and being present with us. We're going to have a really, really fascinating time today. And someone has said, why are you here? I thought you were supposed to be in Miami. As soon as I'm done, I'm flying there. But anytime that I have a chance to be here, I'm going to be here. So it is great to see you. Are you all ready to go? So I want to ask you a question. How many of us have ever worked on an incompetent team? How many of us? And don't say if your boss is with you, yeah, I work with one right now, okay? When you think of an incompetent team, what's been your experience? And if you're online, type it out, and Tracy will share with us. What have you seen how incompetent teams behave? Just talk to me out loud. Come on. No unity of effort. If there's no unity of effort, ego replaces purpose on incompetent teams. Who else? Yes, sir.
Timid communication.
Say that again, Ben.
Timid communication.
Either timid communication, a lack of directness, a lack of putting things on the table. If you don't do that, what breeds, Jameson, if you don't put things on the table? Chaos, drama, where? And from under the table. Incompetent teams have all kinds of drama. They have meetings after the meeting. The meetings that they have are not real, and who knows it? Everyone knows it. They know the decision has already been made, or it's going to be made, or no decision at all is ever going to be made. Make sense? Who else? Yes, sir, Chris.
No trust, because the different factions within the meeting are all competing with each other instead of working cohesively as a team.
Yes. So Chris talks about coalition building. That there's instead of, and when you're coalition building, you're not working for purpose. You're working for your own self-serving agenda. Who else? Tracy, do we have anybody online?
No, not yet.
Oh, come on, you guys. There's a bunch of you. We need you to get involved. So what I want to do, before I get into a case study of an organization that we worked with that experienced a massive turnaround, I want to offer a disclaimer or a word of caution. Sometimes there are those of us who are perfectionists here truly who look at anybody in our team making mistakes as incompetent. I am not talking about being human and doing and really having areas of great strength, but areas of weakness, and that's where you get zoned in. I have a friend who was challenged by a coach, and he was always angry at his team, always angry. And he talked about over and over how worthless his team was, how incompetent his team was. And he was working with his coach for over a year and a half, and finally, after a year and a half, said, you know, so-and-so, there's a pattern here. You've gone through your entire team in a year and a half, and you're still, everybody that you bring on, you're now saying the same thing. I don't think the issue is just relegated to your team. You may be the problem. And so I will tell you, as a struggling perfectionist, I have struggled with that in the past. And there are days that I still will find that little voice in my head that I have to manage and deal with. So I'm not talking about genuine effort that a perfectionist sees as incompetent when it's just unrealistic expectations. Are we clear about that? And so what I want to do is I'm going to walk you through this case study. And there are truths that apply not only to teams that are in trouble that have to get better or they die, but it also applies to good teams that want to look for an edge on how to get better. Does that make sense? Why do people struggle with acknowledging that their team may be incompetent? Why do leaders struggle with looking at the fact that their team may be incompetent? What do you think? Yes, it could be a reflection on them. Or if we do the work, I may discover some things that it's not only about my team, it may be about me. If you are an effective leader, you want to discover those things that are about you. And you know that they are there. Would you agree with that? And when you find out that they are there and what it is, you don't beat yourself up and go into shame. You go into evaluation. Because we all know that we have places to get better. Would you agree with that? And so let me walk you through this scenario. And we're talking about, how do you take a team that's struggling? How do you take a team that no matter what you do, you're not getting progress? The results are always flat. And so let me walk you through it. There was an organization that Tracy and I were asked to go into, and I'm going to sanitize this case study. And I'm also going to change the field that they were in. Because if I'm going to break their confidence, I'm going to break yours too. And so, and when we don't, leaders do not break confidences. Okay? Now, so this organization, this was a true number. They were a $200 million operation. They were a world-class organization at one point. They were in the medical products division. What they did was world game changing. And they were struggling. They were the gem of the parent company who owned them. They were the source of pride because of the things that they churned out they were able to attract the brightest and the best from the leading universities in the United States. They had people that had written journals. They had people who were speaking all over the world because of their expertise. But when they called us, they were in trouble. And here's why. A sign of when you are in trouble is when you hire a leader of the team that does not fit the healthy culture of the organization. And this is exactly what happened. We had worked with this organization 10 years prior and had amazing success. And they lived on that momentum for about 7 years. Here's the problem. The moment you quit working on your team, it starts going backward. There is nothing on this side of heaven that is self-sustaining without effort. Would you agree with that? Nothing. And so they were so confident in how far they had come and the momentum and their reputation. And they brought in a person from a culture, a foreign culture, that women were to be used as tools. He was a misogynist. He looked down upon females. And this organization was at least 60% females. That's a problem. He also had a top-down leadership style. It was my way or the highway. And if you don't like it, get out. Guess what? In today's world of the economic robust structure that has developed in our company, in our country, when I was a kid and my boss said, if you don't like it, get out, and I knew that there weren't a bunch of opportunities out there, and there were 50 people that would love to have my job, so I took it. And you just know that's how things roll, right? Today, what happens? When I say, if you don't like it, get out, what happens? They get out. And there is no problem whatsoever, and most of them have a job within 24 hours. And so when we got there, they had a 47% turnover year to year. In the 2 years, it was a combined of 80% turnover. And when they lost people, they lost PhDs. When they lost someone that they had been recruiting for 3 years to try to get through. And so when you have an incompetent team and you stay incompetent, your winners start to lose. Your winners start to leave. Would you agree with that? And so that's what was happening. Also, he also, because of the attrition, started hiring his cronies. And his cronies had the same leadership style that he did. And once you are a part of a healthy team, and you have a leader, listen, over time, your leader will always set the bar for your team. If you are an incompetent leader in a matter of 3 years, I guarantee you your team will be totally incompetent for those who are left. Make sense? And if you are not growing as a leader, it will be a reflection that it's a matter of time before your team is not growing. If you are growing as a leader and you have a hunger to get better and to look for those edges on how I continue to improve, you cannot stop your team from getting better. Did you hear that? The best recipe that I know to help make a team better is for you as the leader to have a hunger to get better. And feedback to that leader is a gift. When you're in a incompetent team, what's feedback? How is it received? Talk to me. There is no feedback because it has been threatening. And when people get feedback, they get defensive. And after a while, people just start walking on eggshells. Have you ever seen that? And if they do deliver the mail, they do it in a way that we call toxic nice. Toxic nice is, I'm going to dance all around it. I'm going to say everything but the thing, we call it deliver the last 5%. The 5% that's the reason for the whole conversation. Incompetent teams, they do the dance. Does that make sense? And they have so much drama because they will not address drama. They have inappropriate discussions in the hallways. Some of you are looking at each other right there, and I'm not going to sell you out by looking at you. They get involved in pettiness. There is a blame culture. And there is certainly not an upward level of accountability. And there's not sideways accountability. And this same gentleman had a leadership style that he saw that if you covet information and keep information to you, you will have power. What's the problem with that? It doesn't work in today's world because everybody has access to information at infinite levels today, right? Today, power is not authority. Power is influence. And influence is the gift of followers to choose to buy into your system, to buy into your theme, to buy into your philosophies because they buy into you because you buy into them. Today, leadership is all about relationship and how you treat people. Leadership, if you want to have a hyper-change team, you don't do change to them, you do change with them. Would you agree with that? You don't do change onto them, you do change with them. It is now a partnership if you are going to have an effective team. Titles are not critical in healthy teams today. Now, you need titles. You need someone who's going to make the final decision. You need to know the chain of command, and you need to respect the chain of command. But you also respect the voice that every single team member brings to the table. Would you agree with that? And so, they were in trouble. They were in such trouble that their product delivery had gone from 90 days to 2 years. Imagine what your customers would do if you promised a delivery that was critical for their survival and you had to wait 2 years. Would you wait 2 years? No. They were fleeing to their competitors like flies. They were in free fall as an organization. And when we walked in, I will tell you, it is one of the few times in working with over 600-700 organizations that Tracy and I looked at each other. You remember that day. And we looked at each other and we said, have we made a mistake? Oh my gosh. This is going to be a massive turnaround. And here's what we did. The first thing is we acknowledged that true turnaround is a long-term view. True turnaround, you have to take a long-term view. Unless you're in the NFL, where you have an owner that can give massive resources that are otherworldly, that's not in the real world that everybody else lives in, or you are a college basketball team that has the NIL, and you can recruit an entire new team every year, those are the two exceptions. I don't think there are any 7-foot players today here who can dunk the ball behind your head. Would that be a fair statement? And there are no left guards here for the Miami Dolphins here, so it doesn't apply for us. You have to take the long view. Would you agree with that? Now, the fact that they called us, the first step in changing is to acknowledge we have a problem. The first step is to acknowledge we have a problem. It is to get out of denial. You cannot fix a problem that you won't admit you have. Would you guys agree with that? Are you all there? Am I speaking? You can relate to this, can't you? And so, that was the first thing. They acknowledged that they had a problem, and they got out of denial. In order to get out of denial, you have to make a shift in your self-narrative. And the shift is, if we have a team that is making a lot of mistakes and is underperforming, it doesn't mean I am a mistake. It means that we've got to fix a team. It is not a statement on who I am or my value as a person. That is a narrative shift that you have to have if you're going to dig in and do the hard work of improving a team in a radical fashion. So the next thing we did is we started asking for the truth. Great teams are never afraid of the truth. In fact, they are starving for truth. Why? Talk to me. Why do great teams want the truth? Not just the good information, but all of the information. Why?
So they can learn from it?
Because it's a learning moment. And great teams have a relationship with mistakes that incompetent teams don't. Great teams' relationship to mistakes is, this is an opportunity for accelerated learning. This is an opportunity for accelerated development. Make sense? Great teams are not afraid to say, wow, we blew that. Now, let's take it apart. Let's look at it. How do we learn? And we call that commitment to excellence, not perfectionism. And boy, did we learn things as we started talking to their customers, we started talking to their team, we started talking to the people in the parent organization that their team interfaced, and we found this, that it was an old school approach to leadership. This person never had team meetings. The reason why he never had team meetings is because what did he use to have control? Information. And he was so concerned if he would have team meetings that someone would blot something out in the meeting that he had talked to them about and the rest of the team would know. And he was the only one who had all the information, what was going on with the group. Would you like to work for a group like that? And so everyone couldn't make a decision. If they made a decision, who did they go to? Who'd they go to? They had to go to the senior leader, the only one who had all the information. If you are an excellent team, you are as transparent as daylight. You put everything on the table that can be put on the table legally and ethically. Make sense? And you're not afraid. You're not afraid to look at that. And so we also found that he was saying to people, do not tell the organization across town what our mistakes are. If you do, you are fired. If you have the HR department from that other company, from our parent organization, if you have the CEO from our parent organization that wants to know what's going on in our organization, do not tell them. If you tell them, you are fired. Would you like to work for an organization like that? No. Transparency, the lack of transparency is a recipe for incompetence. Now, here's another key. If you want to turn around your team, your senior leader's got to be all in. Your senior leader has to be all in. Not only all in and saying, I'm behind this, but they participate in the change. They participate in the change. Again, they're not wanting change put onto people. They want to be part of the change, and they're willing to model it. We never take on an engagement with a CEO or an appropriate senior leader's title. We never do it unless the senior leader is all in. If they're not, you will fail. Now, when you start addressing truth on a team that has a culture of hiding truth, what are you going to instantly create the moment you start putting it on the table? Chaos. What else? Drama. What else? Fear. What else? A lot of anger, because you're messing with the rhythm that we've learned how to survive. You're messing with the rhythm that we've learned how to survive. And if you want a team to get better, you better know that tension and anger and strong reactions are part of the deal. For every action, there is what? An equal and opposite reaction. If you've got a toxic team, and when you're addressing things, there's no reaction, you're not doing something worth reacting to. And I want to tell you, the moment that what we did, the next step is we created the tools, or we brought in methods to create a safe environment. We call them trust accelerators. That we said, okay, and they're powerful, aren't they, Jameson? We said, look, in how we deal with conflict, and how we deal with misunderstandings, and how we solve problems, how are we going to behave with each other? How are we going to receive information and deliver information that looks like, smells like, and acts like an adult? That there's nothing that you can't talk about, and you're not going to attack. You're going to show dignity. You're going to show respect. You're going to listen deeply, and you develop those, and we call them trust accelerators. And they are, and you have to begin to create that environment where people who are scared to death begin to share their truth. If you don't set up that environment, you will not see radical change. The other thing is this: we were hope givers. We came in and we said to them, look, you are a freight train that is roaring backwards. And the hardest thing to do when you're turning around a team is stop the roaring going in reverse. That's the hardest part. And you're not seeing results yet, are you? You're not seeing results when you're putting this on the table. You're getting all kinds of reaction. By the way, why do you think the adverse reaction is there from your team when you want to begin to work on its improvement? Why is it there? Because they don't know how to deal with pain. And they want the pain to stop. So if they can make it as uncomfortable for you to stop as quickly as possible, that's where all the reaction comes from. You need to understand that is part of every significant change process. It's part of every significant change process. And Tracy, did we see it? Every week. And every week we would begin to explain to them, we would frame where they were. And we said to them, look, and you have to teach your team this, we're not going to see results immediately. The results always follow behind the change. They never happen at the same time. You have to show your team that. And you have to say that, look, the hardest part of this, after you stop it, is then getting 1 to 2 to 3 miles an hour. Momentum. And you do that by celebrating the tiny wins that your team begins to do. How do you create momentum? You celebrate the wins that even as minuscule as they are. You celebrate the wins. Here's another thing that we did. We provided hope. We provided hope. Look, I'm working right now with an athletic director of a university. And he took over an athletic department that was in shambles. Financially, they were dealing with the NCAA. They had all kinds of violations. Incredible morale problem. And he came from a very successful program. He landed there, and he could not believe what he had come into. And you know what he did? He started looking for believers. He started looking for believers. And fortunately, I was one of his 3 believers in the entire town of 400,000 people. If you are going to lead deep change towards excellence, there are lonely days. Would you agree with that? There are lonely days. And there will be times when you're in the midst of it, when the bad days, the hard days, are outnumbering the momentum of the good days. What does your voice say to you? We've all been there. What's your voice say to you? Say that again. It's not going to work. Thank you, Susan. Who else? It's not worth it. What else? I'm going to quit. What? You're not enough. What else? We've all been there, haven't we? What are you hearing, Phil?
I don't think I can keep doing this.
You know what that's called? That's giving your power. That is called being a volunteer victim, where you are giving your power away to the size of the problem instead of the size of the solution. That is where you are letting external voices determine your internal decision making. And great leaders say, and here's the next thing. Not only do you have to create, and you all, if you're leading change, you better find believers, and they may be in your team, but you better surround yourself with people who are constructive, who will tell you the truth, but also believe in who you are and believe in your mission. Make sense? There are times that we are just one conversation away from quitting. And one conversation away from someone who said, I needed to hear that. Thank you. I'm going to continue to go. And you may be that believer that someone needs in your organization to continue toward the tipping point. You guys with me? The other thing is this. You better have a vision and a mission and a purpose worth fighting for. If you do not have a purpose, and what we found in our discovery is with all the drama, their leader was so into creating power that he forgot about casting vision. Great leaders are casting vision all the time. The vision is, where are we going and why are we doing it? Where are we going and why are we doing it? Sometimes the only thing that keeps you going is the why. Would you agree with that? There are times that the only thing that you have in the fight is your purpose. That's all you have left. And there are times that is all you need. You see, when you reestablish your purpose, and you begin to say to your team, gang, our purpose has waned. We've gotten so caught up in the drama. We've gotten so caught up in the pettiness. We've gotten so caught up in blaming that, gang, one of the first things that we have to do is remind ourselves and reassert the power of the purpose on our team. You guys with me? Comments, questions? What's your reaction to this? Talk to me. By the way, world-class leaders don't do crickets. You've heard me say that. No crickets. So when a leader in an elite team needs information to make a decision, he or she says to the team, what are you thinking? And what does the team do? They say, this is what we're thinking. So I'm asking you right now as a demonstration of your leadership, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? I am not going to say another word. Yes.
Personally, I'm concerned we all don't know our purpose.
My friend said that my concern is we don't know our purpose. That doesn't make you really out there. It makes you part of the 99%. Less than 1% of organizations know their purpose and make decisions of sacrifice around their purpose every day. Typically, what we'll do when we're working with an organization, we'll ask 20 people, okay, you've got 20 seconds to write down your purpose. If you know your purpose, it's going to be in 2 words, and everybody will know exactly what it means. And it's been internalized, and it's called the plumb line effect. From the janitor to the CEO, everyone will know the purpose because it is recast over and over and over. So I don't want you to be discouraged about that. Typically, what we do when we say, okay, you got 20 seconds, write it down. Now we're going to share our purpose. What do we get? What do we get? 20 different versions of the purpose. That is an opportunity for you. That is an opportunity. Listen, don't take adversity and let that be the end. There is opportunity that comes out of every moment of adversity. Make sense? That is a key. We started off here in the pandemic. The pandemic for most organizations were not wonderful time. Would you agree with that? What we did, instead of complaining about the adversity, complaining about which political party caused it, getting involved in all the noise, we stuck to purpose. There's a reason why we have over maybe even as much as 950 people who are watching this. When we started, we had 16 people. I never thought we'd outgrow. I was such a flaming visionary, big thinker. And you know what the best thing that ever happened to us in our think tank? Is being forced to go what? Virtual. And it introduced people to us that our previous format would have never done it. If you're in the middle of adversity right now and you want to bail out and you're discouraged, I want you to change your answer to I'm leaving to what is the opportunity that we can seize. What is the opportunity that we can seize? Often the greatest opportunities only can come out of the deepest adversity. And that is leadership mindset. You're not looking for what is wrong, you're looking for what? What is right in the midst of the difficulty. By the way, we started with 34 leaders. During our time, we don't go in and tell organizations they need to fire someone. If we have to tell you that, you got the wrong leader. And so in that, when you have a toxic team and you start helping to make it healthy, toxic people will see healthy things as toxic. Toxic people will see healthy practices as toxic. Accountability is harassment. Accountability is you're picking on me. Putting things on the table is you are ambushing me. Having direct, kind, respectful conversations is that I am going to go to HR and I'm going to report you. What do you mean that you want me to show up at 8 o'clock and that you want to talk to me that I'm only making it one day a week at 8 o'clock? How dare you hold me? That's toxic teams. They do not receive feedback. They don't deal with issues. And you want turnover. There is such a thing as healthy turnover. Would you agree? And when your team is getting better, the ones who are bitter will begin to leave. We call that addition by subtraction. And at the first 34, we lost 17. We lost 17. And every day we had to go back. And the question that we were met every time we would come back was, who's going to leave today? Who's going to leave today? Who's going to leave today? But you know what? With every person, when the COO finally blew it up in one of our meetings and the CEO was there, guess what happened? They had a discussion. And that person decided mutually, we're not coming back. And it opened the avenue to be able to recruit someone who had an incredible vision, who had organizational skills as a COO, and he came in because the CEO started recruiting him to the vision of the organization. If you don't have one externally, you better start selling yours internally. Does that make sense? He or she's going to want to know what's your vision. Because if you don't have a vision, don't expect your team to adopt the vision. And because of the compelling vision of the CEO, he said, I'm all in. And he began to come in and we began to have these transparent conversations. Listen, when you're doing a turnaround, the most important thing is not strategy. The most important thing is to create an environment where real honest dialogue begins to happen. And when you do that, the people who need to get off the bus will find, I need to get off the bus. Or it's going to become clear that so-and-so needs to get off the bus because they're blowing up within this healthy culture. When you create a healthy culture, it will begin to weed out those folks who are incapable of being healthy. Make sense? And then you begin to recruit new people to get on the bus. You know what I'm espousing? You've heard of Jim Collins, Good to Great? That's exactly what we're talking about. And Tracy and I were talking through this last night, and at the end when we were done with all of our notes, I went, this is exactly what Collins says. It's not strategic planning that turns it around. It's getting the wrong people off the bus and getting the right people on the bus and creating an environment that those people can start to talk. And they're not going to be put down if they speak truth that's uncomfortable, as long as it's KDR. You with me? And what do we mean by KDR? Kind, direct, respectful. You said that just like how we practice, Teresa. So once you establish that, you have no idea where that team's going to go. You have no idea. But you have to trust your team with the new energy and the new safety and the new courage. And with your leadership, it's going to begin to turn. Today, that organization in 12 months went from 47% to 15% turnover. In 12 months, in the middle of the pandemic. That organization has turned around by over $100 million in 18 months because of the strategies that came out. The other thing they did is they came in and said, look, we can't fix it all. But what are the 2 or 3 things right now that if we fixed, it'd have major impact across the board? You don't try to fix it all. You find the areas that are the key areas of competence, and you pour yourself into it. And that's what I call the magic square inch. It's that little place of focus and concentration where all the magic begins to happen. What is the magic square inch of your team? What is the magic square inch that if you guys stay in that area and you stay in your competence and place of passion and place of joy, it will change the results of your organization, and you will start loving coming to work. That organization in the last year has won 4 global awards for scientific excellence. They have gone to the point it went to 2 years in delivery. They are now doing it in 60 days. Why? Because they created an environment where healthy leaders wanted to be a part of it. And they started saying, what do you think? And they started coming up with ideas. And they started saying, let's hold each other accountable. When are we going to get it done? Who's responsible? How are we going to get this done? And they started having expectations. People will always rise to the level or the low bar of your expectations. Has this been helpful? You can do this. Believe in yourself. Surround yourself with believers. Recommit to a purpose and begin to create an environment where truth and honesty can talk and be put on the table, and that's when change starts to happen. Thank you all. I hope this has been helpful. You've been able to take some notes and that you can apply some of this to your team. We're out of time, aren't we? Okay. Phil, thank you all.